Welcome in, everyone. My name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and I am so excited to be just yapping with you guys today about the Kansas City Chiefs and sports astrology in general, because as of today, is this a do or die game? Of course, this is not only a game that can determine if the Chiefs are going to be able to make it into the playoffs. This is also a game that is a divisional matchup. So I'm super excited today. Last week was definitely frustrating to watch for Chiefs fans, and yet I learned so much. And thank God I did. Let's go ahead and jump right into the chart today, as we're only 3 hours out from the game. So you guys go ahead, check that out, and I will be right here and ready to yap about it. All right. So as you guys can see, this is going to be quite the game. And I'm not saying that because, oh, today is Pisces rising and they're like used to some sort of like chaos in their life. No, Pisces risings are very ethereal, very much this like, are they real or are they not kind of energy. They can kind of come off as these enigmas of personalities. So in a war chart or a sports chart, hey Belly Jelly, so excited to see you bright and early here today. We've got the North Node at 12 degrees, which is also a Pisces ruled degree on today's rising. So having Jupiter ruling this chart, Jupiter is nice and retrograde over in the fifth house. Once again, I really do have to say, like, the NFL and these referees are just kind of dumbfounding, honestly. There's not much to say about them other than it looks like no one has ever been to referee school. And these are like people that they found that may or may not have vision problems. We don't know. The refs this year are absolutely out of control. And I don't want to blame that on Jupiter, right? Like, that's not it. But today's chart with the moon ruling over the fifth house and Mercury ruling over the fourth house, we are going to see some interesting happenings today. So that moon is going to be in Libra today at 25 degrees, which of course I believe that indicates the point difference of each outcome of the game. Still working on that one. So if you guys have any insight on how the moon shows up, I do think it is like in any chart, it would be an emotional factor, right? So we are having to kind of weigh out the balances of today's game. And of course, Libra moon, balancing, that's so stereotypical, right? That's very astrology 101. The Libra reckoning of sorts. The Libra is the only sign in the zodiac that is represented by a machine. Everyone else gets a cute animal or a person or physical goddess or something like that. And then Libra is like, so I'm literally just some scales. Cool, guys. I guess I'll get back to work. And all the Libras that I know tend to work themselves in the ground. So today's emotional status of the game, I do think, is about who wants it more, and that being an Aries degree of Libras. 25 is an Aries ruled degree, and that can be pretty spicy when it comes to combining Libra and Aries. They're the polarities. I don't know where I was going with that one. The polarities in that access are so strong. It's all about the self and then it's about others. So having both of those energies showing up and that ruling over the fifth house of today's game, maybe we see some more fairness in refs. Fingers crossed, right? But going back to the rising of the chart, that 11-degree rising, of course, that's going to mean that 11s are going to be important in today's game. So if you guys are going to be watching this whole thing, that's cool. I am going to go ahead and pull numbers from this chart just so we can get started. And get some more, I don't know, some spiciness happening earlier on. So 11 is going to be huge. Also, the North Node being on the ascendant, I think that that's like an obsession over kicking, maybe perfection. I don't know. Definitely feeling like feet are important in today's game. Honestly, you can't play a game of football without feet. So that would be rendered pretty difficult if you were attempting that. So I'm not just saying things that are like, wow, guys, if you have feet, it's really important for today's game. Yes. This is not a situation where we're worried about, people missing feet, but it is about the longevity and health of feet. And if you guys haven't figured it out already with all the Pisces energy, now that Neptune and Saturn are back for their last push in Pisces. Neptune is going to be the last we see in Pisces in our lifetime. Saturn, we will see again in about 29 years. So if you make it to 29 years from now, congratulations, you're going to see another Pisces, Saturn, time frame. And it's when things get a little bit hippie-ish. It's when things get a little bit psychedelic. It's when things get a little bit cerebral, as well as grounding and anchoring through the feet. So if you have issues with your feet, I don't know if you guys saw, but when I was on BetMGM Network on Bet Sweats with Sammy and Joe, and their now ending show, I think it's ending after Christmas. So now that their show is coming to an end, they're like, what do we do next? And all I could tell from this chart, this man had a Pisces moon, Venus, and I think Jupiter as well. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing with your feet, but you need to take care of your feet. And he's like, holy shit, I need to get surgery on my foot. I've been putting it off. And I'm like, well, and he's like, well, I've never traveled the world. I'm like, probably because your feet are fucked up. Like, it's not that difficult to figure out when people are like, well, I've never done that before, or that's not true because that hasn't happened in my lifetime. And it's like, well, some of these astrological placements are keys and help open up areas that could be dormant in your chart, yet, with proper guidance to activate them and then activate a different path for yourself. It's very exciting. So knowing that we have so much Pisces energy, especially in the first house of today's game, the 0 point in astrology is 0 degrees Aries. That's where the zodiac allegedly starts. The zodiac also ends at 30 degrees Pisces, which is 0 degrees Aries. So I hate to break it to you, but if this is just like the time to, hey, Alex, what's up? But if this is a time for a death and rebirth, like if you have placements around Pisces, the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries, you are very familiar with reinventing yourself, that's for sure, as well as that never-ending cycle of time. And we get that in the first house of today's game. I believe that that's going to be a little bit of a death and rebirth for whichever team decides to make it so, right? Like, we have the chance now to watch the Kansas City Chiefs with like 5 guys they found on the street playing offensive line, and then Patrick Mahomes. I'm pretty sure that if you gave a random like jacked blue collar worker that you find on any job site, they've got the functional strength and also the physical strength for just 3 hours, not like longevity wise, just a different giant dude each week. And we just say, do you love Chiefs football? And they're like, yeah, of course we do. And do you want to protect Patrick Mahomes within inches of your life against people who want to destroy him? And they're like, yes, this is what I'm made for. I get rid of the drug testing for a game and just give these guys, just hype them up, give them some money and see what happens, right? Like that's true football. Honestly, that's what they would have done in like the 60s. I feel like that's a very like, how did they recruit for the Chiefs players back in the 50s and 60s, or excuse me, the 60s when they were founded? Like, hang out at a gas station long enough, you will find a dude that looks like he could run through 5 people at once, and pay him some money and give him some creatine, and I think we'd be good. That's my plan for the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line. It is really offensive, honestly, that we have a $500 million quarterback and no one to fucking protect him. So a lot of this is going to be, I feel like the first house just feels like rage bait. I don't know why, but it's like the North Node, which is all about obsession, Saturn, which is all about discipline and lessons, Neptune, which is all about revealing the true character and true nature of oneself through this veil that Neptune puts over our faces, or the rose-colored glasses, however you want to see Neptune. Ceres, and then Chiron at 22 degrees Aries. Head injuries seem like a big problem today. There was a problem last week. I also mentioned leg injuries were going to be bad last week. They were. Took more people out for the Chiefs. So that's fun. The Chargers, I guess, are totally banged up as well. So this is literally like a bunch of dudes that everyone found, like I said, at a gas station at 5 a.m. ready to go to work. And they're like, hey, do you hate the Chargers? And they're like, fuck yes, we do. Everyone in Kansas City does. So that's what's happening on both sides of the team. Or both sides of the ball. I think not only will the not San Diego Chargers, I can't call them the Los Angeles Chargers. In my head, for fucking decades, they were in San Diego, and that's all I knew. So, like, there's the LA Rams and then the San Diego Chargers. It's never going to change. Sorry if I say it a bunch and you're like, well, this diminishes your credibility. Cool. I'm already talking about the Stars and football, so if you think that the problem is my homerism, well, whatever, grow up. I think that it's like also the fact that we have so many squares today, it's a lot. So the sun is currently forming a T-square and will be for the game with Saturn and also the vertex. And the vertex is like the spiritual doors to open and close for you each and every anytime that you see the vertex, especially in your birth chart, those are signs and also seasons where people can come into your life and change your life for the better. Can reveal parts of yourself through them that you didn't even know existed. And it's kind of powerful. So it's nice to see the vertex making up that T-square. So it makes it a little bit softer and not so, yes, that's a real term. We don't have anything in Gemini, or else that would be a grand mutable cross. So interesting enough for today's game, I do think that mutable signs are going to be the star of the show. Yes, that includes our lovely Patrick Mahomes and, whatever else comes up. I think mutable signs are just going to be the highlight of today's game. So going into the second house, which is where I like to see the pace of the game happening. The pace of the game, I believe, is found in the second house because it is all about the physical action and the vocalization and how those things work together, especially as Taurus is at home in the second house. And then we do see Taurus starting at that third house cusp. So we have Mars ruling over the second house, and Mars is at 29 degrees Sagittarius. This degree in the Sabian symbols is represented by a fat boy mowing the lawn. This is funny, mostly because I think this shows the anoretic chaos of the larger men on the field being a little bit weaker than they normally are. And it's not because they're not strong enough, good enough, capable enough. It's because they're not the starting group. And this is an insecure physical matchup. They're both got injuries. I don't want to say problems. They both have some things going on the front lines. They've got some missing people on both sides. I don't know the people exactly, so I cannot tell you. I do know that today 22 for the Chiefs is out, so that's not really helpful, but that is a number that we don't have to watch for, so there's that. But going into the third house, we do see that 28-degree Uranus retrograde, and that is right there, third house, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is in the ninth house. So we have a lot of ninth house energy today, and that does usually represent the away team, right? So seeing that the third house is ruled by Venus, Venus is in Sagittarius, they got to use their big brains today, right? Like both teams have to use their big brains. If they are playing small, thinking small, it will show. And that's where I think the third house being ruled by Venus and Venus being in the ninth house kind of shows up. The fourth house is ruled by Mercury, which happens to be in the ninth house of today's game. The Mercury Sabian symbol, the 3 degrees Sagittarius, is represented by 2 men playing a game of chess. It's very much about the battle of the tit for tat, who has the bigger mastermind, who has the bigger brain in the situation, who has the ability to play the game like they need to be played, right? So it is about playmaking, it is about play calling, it's about what you do to differentiate yourself between winners and losers. And all I have to say about the Kansas City Chiefs and Matt Nagy is that Eric Bieniemy might have been a little bit mean and a little bit rough, but he certainly made sure that players fucking caught the ball. I don't know what Matt Nagy's doing right now. I'm sure he's not watching this video, but if he was, I would tell him to leave. Go elsewhere. Please. Run away. Just go be a head coach somewhere that's really terrible and thinks that you might be the option. You're not, but it's okay. We will find someone better than you that can actually run plays correctly. My other half, like I've mentioned before, is an incredible human being on top of being a bubbling personality in the sports reaction video world. Bubbling because I feel like you never know if it's like bubbling to the surface, like the anger and frustration that he has felt from watching this team make the same fucking mistakes, or it's like really, really contagious energy. So no matter what, whenever I'm watching his reactions to the game in real time and also in his videos, I'm like, I am learning so much. And what I keep learning is that we suck at play calling, and it's not getting any better. In fact, it's only making Mahomes look even worse. So today, the biggest focus for the Chiefs will be calling plays that make sense. If we are 4th and 4, what should we be doing? Like, just watch Bay's video and you guys will know. But that's kind of like the fun part about watching these games, astrologizing it with you all, is that you can see the highlights and you can see glimpses of what's to come. The other important thing is that with astrology, I am once again making predictions for something that's happening in a few hours. I am not able to see exactly what's going to happen, but we can check the themes, right? So I didn't get to the rising Sabian symbol like I normally do, so I am going to look at that real quick before I move on to that 5th house, because we did talk about that at the beginning a little. The 11th degree of Pisces is men traveling a narrow path seeking illumination. This degree is all about discovery and getting answers, finding your truth, and it being a personal journey. So this is a very personal journey for each and every person that is going to be stepping on the field today, whether it's coaches, water boys, cameramen, players, reporters, whatever it is. This is a very big game. The 12th degree of Pisces, which is the truth degree to today's game, is where the North Node is. It's an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of an occult brotherhood. This is all about these secret, closed off societies, as well as things being a choice to join them, or they are not a choice, and you're just like, what the fuck? Why am I stuck here? The the solution degree, the quest degree, or the solution degree as I like to call it, is 13 degrees Pisces. That is a sword used in many battles, is now in a museum. This whole rivalry between not San Diego and Kansas City has literally been the bane of my existence since I was a child. And now, speaking of me being a child, Phillip Rivers is somehow back, not playing with the Chargers, but playing with the Indianapolis Colts. And that, to me, he's a sword used in many battles, now in a museum. That just shows you the state of the NFL. Like, college quarterbacks don't have enough testosterone coming out of college anymore to be competitive in the NFL. It takes them a few seasons to warm up, to even grow up. And I think that you shouldn't even be in the NFL until your front lobe develops. But post Saturn return would look a lot different for these guys. Like, a lot of these guys are playing way before their Saturn return even comes close to hitting. They retire around their Saturn return, which 29 years old is when Saturn is the 6th house year, but that's like when your Saturn return is super active. It's between 28 and 31. But there's just so much about the sword used in many battles now, like that used to be in a museum. And I guess we're dragging it back out on the field. That very much represents Philip Rivers to me. He's not in this game, but this is a historic rivalry. These guys have gone against each other for ever since both of the franchises were created. They are very much at each other's throats. This is going to be a big divisional matchup today, so I like seeing that it's familiar territory, right? So the solution degree to today's North Node is the truth degree is that 13 degrees Pisces sword, and then the truth degree is a woman wrapped in fox fur. So we might be seeing a woman wrapped in fox fur or fur in general as some sort of like highlight for today's game. Who knows? It's fucking cold out. Took my little Miss Coco outside. I was like, I don't know where she is, but took her outside this morning, got a brief hint of the 10-degree air that feels like -2. And it's pretty chilly out. So that'll be an interesting one for sure. But going back to the fifth house, another 11 ruled degree. So this fifth house does trine the that rising, and you can see the impact of Jupiter retrograde as the rough calls have been even wonkier since Jupiter station retrograde. And it's kind of fun to think that, like, okay, we're going to have this magical Jupiter ruled sun, and the entire time that the sun is in Sagittarius, it will be ruled by a retrograde Jupiter. And then by the time Pisces season hits, I believe Jupiter will be stationed direct. I think I need to find that out. I have not done a book for astrology of 2026, so there's that. I do know that Chiron shifts into Taurus and the nodes go into Aquarius versus Pisces, as well as Jupiter going into Leo. So we have a lot of fun things for 2026 coming up. Let's go ahead and go into the opponent chart. Yeah, because we looked at the game solo chart for long enough. I'm like, it's been 25 minutes and I haven't gotten to a single team yet. But like going in, you can see where that fifth house starts. Like I said, the sixth house is empty for the game. Then we have the moon, vertex, and south node in the seventh house, making things deeply personal. And then I guess I do need to look at this, which I categorize as the away team. There always is a chance that the Chargers come out and fucking clobber the Chiefs, right? With the O line that the Chiefs have, it's not great. It's not a wonderful situation to be in. And having that moon right there on the cusp of the seventh and eighth house. Interesting enough, I do think that today we'll have some fun prop bets, so we will get to those in a little bit when we do the players charts, because I do have a lot of those, of course, because I am the only live astrology show with actual player birth times outside of Travis Kelce. It's fun. I think I'm the only live sports astrology show in general, so I don't need to add all those extra things on the end. Like, hey guys, I do all this other stuff, but no one else does either, so that's fine. Going into that main part of the eighth house, we see Lilith there in Scorpio. That is the Vegas house, gambling odds, whatever it is that you want to see it as. And, with that being said, we have a lot of space here to kind of work with. The second house is empty for the game, as well as the eighth house being only with Lilith in there. Lilith is stationed direct, so that's exciting. But that ninth house ruled by Mars, and Mars being once again at that insecure degree of Sagittarius, that is where I sense a little bit of faultiness. Things may falter there, with the Mercury still getting out of that. Yeah, I think right now it's finally out of the post shadow of Mercury retrograde. So there's that. But you can see that there's so much of Venus and the sun, that beautiful little Venus, almost Kazemi, not really quite. It's like 5 degrees away. But with the sun highlighting Venus a little bit, and the closer that Venus gets to the sun, I do think that's going to just power up those energies and those global powerful energies that we see around Sagittarius season. And when Venus is also in Sagittarius, it's like this expansive, over the top, like feed everyone, have these big fun parties, or have these big, not really fun parties, but these big gatherings, meetings of the mind. Those are also very Sagittarius themed things. And also with Sagittarius, in the ninth house, we do have quite a bit of a fitting chart here. And I love it when I get an Aries rising chart and all of the houses are the exact same as they are in natural order. And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. So if you have an Aries rising chart, congratulations. You are highly favored, not only with your energy levels, but also with everything being easier for you to learn in astrology. That ninth house, like I said, ruled by Mars, and that insecure degree of Sagittarius, that fat boy mowing the lawn degree in the Sabian Symbols. It's all about being physically put out of your comfort zone. And if you have placements around 29 degrees Sagittarius, I do call it a very insecure degree, but that's because, it is. The anaretic form of any degree is going to bring radical changes, a lot of discomfort for the native around that area of their life. So if you have natally 29-degree Mars and Sagittarius, you might feel like you physically have not been enough your whole life, or you physically been too much your whole life, and you constantly work yourself into the ground trying to prove your worthiness. And that can be incredibly draining, for anyone that's going through a lot of those later degree type of placements. If you have those in your chart, it's something to think about with the radical transformation of so much, especially if you have mutable anything in the later degrees right now, because you are getting hit by Mars squaring Neptune, squaring Saturn. And then, now like tomorrow will be my Mars return, or whenever Mars jumps into Capricorn, I will be going through my Mars return, so that's exciting. But these last degrees of Sagittarius, they're also ruled by Saturn. If you pay attention to the decans or decans, whatever you want to call them, I really don't, because I work with specific degrees, and that means that they all have a different flavor down to the microscopic level. So I think that decans are cool to understand the theme, but if you really, really, really want to know purpose and purpose through these degrees, you comb them through with a fine-tooth comb and go through degree theory and Sabian symbols, as they contain so much information. The fun part about Venus and the sun on the MC for today is I think we're going to see a lot of action. I think we're going to see a lot of running. I think we're going to see a lot of being on the move and scrambling. And it's fun because it makes for an interesting game. Having the sun, Juno, and Mars all in the 10th house there. Commitments will be on display, as well as that kill or be killed degree of Sagittarius. I like to see the 22 degree of Sagittarius more as a global fame, or a foreign romance, or a cultural, like, you just meld with a culture so well that it's like a fusion almost. And I think the 22 degree of Sagittarius is way different than the 22 degree of Aries, which is I think I said last week that that's the music of the spheres degree. That's not true. The music of the spheres degree is 29 degree Aries. 22 degrees Aries is a gate to the gardens of all desires fulfilled. It's very beautiful in that regard, but it's like this Garden of Eden type energy. And so the 22 degree of Leo is this pigeon, messenger pigeon, fulfilling its mission. And that to me is more like you have to fulfill your duty in life. 22 degree of Aquarius is children playing on a rug. And the solution degree of that is a well-trained bear raising its paw, I believe. Yeah, the 22 degree of Aquarius is a rug placed on the floor for children to play on. And it's about having a safe zone for children, or having a safe place for your inner child to feel safe on, and not have the rug pulled out from under your feet kind of energy. But it's very protective. And then the 23 degree, which would be the solution degree, is a big trained bear sitting down and waving all its paws. Don't become someone else's big trained bear is a big message of that. The 24 degree of Aquarius, which would be the solution, is a man turning his back on his passions, teaches deep wisdom from his experience. So, Belly Jellies, you just got a little personal Sabian symbol reading there just because I happen to love the 22 degrees of all the signs. And having that as your MC, maybe you work with children, maybe you work with maybe training, teaching, some sort of energy there. But the big thing is to teach others from your life experience and use all your passions and experience to culminate and that be what you do with your life. So very cool. That's the degree of the love of my life's Saturn. So I'm very familiar with that little area. Also the love of my life, the Kansas City Chiefs, their Saturn is at 22 degrees Aquarius. So very familiar with that. Going into the Saturn ruled 11th house, we do see Saturn once again in that first house, station direct. Yay. And we have today's game with the part of fortune there, as well as Vesta and then Pluto in the 11th house. And that's where I think that we will see some Capricorn stepping the fuck up and reaching new heights, reaching new levels, getting to the point where they can maybe separate from the herd mentality, take it on their back and go. That's what Capricorns are great at. That Pluto in the 11th house, I think, changes and shifts team dynamics. There's a lot of people in the Kansas City organization that are like, well, we just go to the Super Bowl. We just make the playoffs. We just win divisional championships. It's no big deal. They're on the team. They're in the front office. They're all over the place, right? And instead of these people being like, oh, well, maybe since we're having a down year, I should try harder. They're like, nah, someone else will figure it out. So that to me indicates a lot of transformation and rebirth, and the 11th house energy today, having the unexpected thunderstorm degree of Pluto in that 11th house can maybe indicate some funky weather. Who knows? But that could just be funky mental weather, funky networking energy, like the team or collectives could just have some sudden jolts or sudden bursts of energy. Definitely the case since that Pluto is sextile Mercury in the 9th house. Maybe more so for the Chargers. Who fucking knows? Let's pull up the opponent's chart, though, since we looked at the game solo one for so long. I said I was going to do the numbers and stuff of the game with all that, but I did not. So I'm going to be doing that a little bit while you guys look at the chart. We have nothing at 7 today. So I'm thinking Butker is off the hook for once. But the moon does add up to 7. So maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have to add Butker in this one. You can't see a Pisces rising and the North Node on that rising and not think of kicking. You know, and 22 is going to be big for today's game, whether or not, you know, people see that from the Chiefs, because obviously Trent McDuffie is playing. 23 is also going to be big. So far I have 3, 7, 11, 13, 22, 23, and we'll just stop there until we get to the tri-wheel. So, all right, we are looking at the not San Diego Chargers. The disrespect is so wild with this. The not San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, they are kind of funky in the first house. They've got a South Node conjunct Ceres today. If they've taken care of their mental health and if they've taken care of their headspace, it will show. The last game, I said whoever got more frustrated and whoever got like obviously discombobulated in the game was going to be the losers. The Chiefs got hella frustrated. They got completely discombobulated. They got completely start to finish, whether it was not catching the ball, which, hello, it's a game of literally catching the ball and moving forward. From not communicating on offense, from horrible play calling to questionable time management. A lot of it, all of it messy, all of it not as fun as I would want it to be for the Chiefs fans. But today we have the Chargers with the South Node in that first house. The noon chart for the Chargers, I would like to say, is just the general chart. But since I am using these noon charts for all of the football teams, we're going to start using the part of fortune and all the placements that these noon charts give us, okay? So, with that being said, the Chargers having their part of fortune right on today's rising could give them a little bit of a boost. The second house of today's game, yeah, empty for both the game and the Chargers. We do see the third house with Uranus retrograde in there, as well as Lilith and the vertex for the Chargers. So for the third house, they're really going to have to dive into their mental powers and their mindset and get themselves out of that game. The fourth house is empty for the game and for the Chargers. The fifth house has Jupiter retrograde, where I believe the refs will once again make or break this game. The Chargers have a packed sixth house with their MC, Mercury, Uranus, Sun, and Pluto all there. So I do think that today's game, if there are going to be any sort of injuries or any sort of physicalities or things where we can see not physical weakness, because I do think that that's kind of hard to look at unless you have all the individual charts. I do think this will be more of if they have their heart really in it or not, and that'll be quite obvious to see. Then going around to the seventh house, we see this deeply personal game for the Chargers. Not only is their Venus retrograde conjunct the South Node, their Mars is too. So it doesn't look great for the Chargers when it comes to can they rise above this personally. The one thing I will say is that their Pallas Athena is conjunct the moon for today, which does give them a bit of wisdom surge, like a surge of divine knowing, and they might use this to their advantage. And if they seem to be more prepared or aware of the same non-running plays the Chiefs run, they've just done their homework, okay? That's what it shows up as. Then we see for the Chargers, their Scorpio rising conjunct Neptune, as well as their Jupiter trine Jupiter retrograde, as well as their Ceres conjunct Lilith today. So I really do think that whoever has nurtured themselves mentally, whoever has taken the time to deal with whatever team frustration, anger issues behind closed doors is definitely going to be a winner. You know, when we do have Jupiter in Cancer, Cancer is at home in the fourth house, and we do bring that fourth house energy wherever we go. So once again, whoever's been doing the work behind closed doors is getting rewarded with this Jupiter retrograde. I know for a fact that I have not been doing all the work behind closed doors that I could have been doing this whole time for my family and building my household the way that I want it to be. So in my opinion, what happened in that area of my life is that I learned a lot about what I want my household to look like, what I want that to look like with the love of my life, and you know, living together and raising children together and having my father as the person that we are caretaking and making sure that he's good every single day. Like, we just have a very busy household, and if you're not running it efficiently, it just doesn't work. And so I broke out the chore chart again. I've redone the family calendar. We are, you know, more cohesive as a family unit now that we have our amazing new addition to the family, our lovely dog Coco. So it is a lot about the heart of what happens behind closed doors. If you are out there, and I want to say this with a smile, if you are out there telling people how to live their life, but your own world is messy, unstructured, and unorganized, you will be getting got by the karma gods. It's not like, oh, you're going to get killed. No, it's like you're going to have a moment where your green screen doesn't hide the cluttered mess anymore behind you, or people see you for who you are. Jupiter retrograde also revisits money troubles, abundance troubles, struggles, whatever you want to call it. So it can be a very revisiting the core values behind closed doors type of energy. So if that's what you've been experiencing, cool. It is time to take stock and pour the energy that you pour into everyone else back into your house and home and take charge of that energy. Because especially if you're a woman, you create the blueprint for that space, right? So if you allow others to tromp through your home with their shoes on and get mud everywhere, that's what you're allowing in your own feminine energy. So it's like, be aware of the way that your energy works. You know, feng shui has been around for eons and it does make a difference. Like, I've noticed so much from the little things that we're doing to the big shifts that are happening all around. So definitely welcoming in money and abundance this time of my life, and it's been fun to restructure and allow that to flow in. So, with Jupiter trine the Jupiter retrograde for the Chargers, that being in the eighth house, I do think they show up well today. I think it is going to be a close game between these two busted up teams. Going into the ninth house, which is ruled by Mars at that insecure degree of Sagittarius, we do see empty for the Chargers, and then for the game is going to be Mercury and Venus, which I do think boosts the Chargers quite a bit. The MC for today's game is ruled by that Jupiter retrograde, so that's 19 degrees Sagittarius. I believe that's the degree of seagulls getting tired of people's shit. Literally, it's pelicans, not seagulls, pelicans. Pelicans disturbed by the garbage of people move their young to a new habitat. The truth degree of this is in winter, people are cutting ice from a frozen pond for summer use. And then the solution degree is a child and dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. Interesting symbols. We'll dive into those another time. For today's game, we have the 10th house pretty packed and on display. We've got that because it is a noon game. So anytime you see a noon chart, that's when the sun is at its highest point in the sky and will be in the 10th house because that's the highest point in your chart. Yay, the more you know. The 22 degree of the sun is right there in the 10th house, conjunct the MC. Venus is also conjunct the MC in the ninth house. I do think the travel team shows up loud, shows up well, but it's kill or be killed, and only one can win. We don't do ties in Arrowhead. Fuck that. The whole Saturn and Moon conjunction, I do think shows up well for the Chargers with their fortitude. Might not have as much strength as a Saturn direct, but Saturn retrograde right there, conjunct the moon towards Mars at the very insecure degrees of Sagittarius. I think that is a little bit of a recipe for mess for the Chargers. We will see the part of fortune invested for today's game in the 11th house with that Pluto that shows a transformative gift in the form of a Capricorn. I'm not familiar with the Chargers team at all. I couldn't tell you. Is Keenan Allen still there? That old motherfucker, Jesus. It's annoying because I know he is. I'm pretty sure he still is, but why not bring Phillip Rivers back there and just give Justin Herbert to the Colts? That's what should have happened. I wanted to see Phillip Rivers just one more time in Arrowhead. No, I don't, honestly. Andy Reid had to butt bump him once because he was getting out of line, and that's what I remember the most about Phillip Rivers. Going into today's 12th house for the game, we do see the Chargers having their Chiron in not Aries, Aquarius. Chiron in Aries is sextile that Chiron in Aquarius, so that's interesting for today's game. I do think that will give a little bit more of a time to slow down and feel the strength within and feel that circulatory strength that the Chargers will need to win today. All right. So, with that being said, let's pull up to the Chiefs game. We are going to be looking at the tri wheel here in a second. I want to get to that as soon as possible, just so I can show you guys all that and get my numbers predicted and all that. I do want to say shout out to my eyeshadow. This Odin's Eye eyeshadow palette is like everything glacial and amazing that I could ever ask for. So thank you very much, Empress Atlantis, for that suggestion because oh my god, do I love it. Today's game is going to be such a battle of the feet and kicking once again for the Kansas City Chiefs. Foot injuries and things around the feet and or that area has been a theme, especially with Mahomes and his ankle for a while. I will pull up his chart here in a second. The beauty of having that Jupiter there in the first house, conjunct Ceres, and in between Chiron retrograde and Ceres for the Chiefs, is going to be that if they pull this off, it'll be because they became childlike in their delivery. They saw the big picture and they decided we're going to make this a business decision and get this fucking done. The 10 degree of any sign is going to be a Capricorn ruled degree. And that gives it fortitude, that gives it the stamina and the longitude of being able to stand up and keep fucking going and keep reaching, climb the, or what is it, the summit. Like, you climb the summit or you reach the summit, and then there's good news, another bigger mountain ready for them to tackle. And that's very much the energy of Capricorn placements, but also Capricorn rule degrees like 10 and 22. Going into the second house, which is controlling the pace of today's game, seeing that the Chiefs have their Venus, Mercury retrograde, and Moon all in Taurus there for today's game, vocalization is going to be key. They have to vocally call the right plays. They have to stay together and express themselves clearly without that rage or emotional depths of the 4 degrees, which 4 degrees is also a Cancer rule degree. So lots of emotions come with that. The beautiful thing about having Mercury retrograde in a sports chart, I think we have seen quite a bit how the Chiefs have had problems dropping the ball. I think this is because Mercury retrograde is getting hit by Uranus retrograde for them and their natal chart. Their sun is ruled by Mercury as it is in the sign of Gemini. Their Mercury is stationed retrograde in Taurus and is at the Aquarius degree of Taurus. That's 23 degrees. Honestly, 23 degrees is the degree of astrology and the degree of astrologers. I think the Chiefs, and not because I'm just tooting my own horn here, I think the Chiefs could benefit 157% from an in-house astrologer, some sort of spiritual staff, some sort of visionary of sorts. Yes, I would nominate myself for the position because I don't know anyone else who cares about the stars and the Chiefs as much as I do. And that's as informed as I am. You might care about the stars and the Chiefs, but you don't know as much about astrology in the way that I do and have been working with it as long. I do know that. I do know that I am the only Kansas City Chiefs astrologer out there. So yes, I would definitely be nominating myself for this position. But more importantly, having that Mercury at 23 degrees is also about having fate. And it's like very much feels fated. When you have a lot of things in your chart pointing to astrology, life feels fated. And not faded, but fated. And that can be overwhelming for some. It can be a lot of like, am I in control or is this just like telling me what to do? And astrology will always account for free will. There is nothing that says you will stub your toe on the corner of your bed every morning for the rest of your life because you are cursed. Astrology is not a curse, it is a map. Astrology is a blueprint, it is a divine blueprint from the heavens above. And if you are lucky enough to study the ancient art form of astrology this lifetime and speak fluently in the cosmos, then you are lucky enough to be able to read these ancient maps and share the knowledge with everyone around us. Like, there are very few people that do this because they love it. There are a lot of people out there that do it because they seek fame, they seek power, and they seek money. I've had fame. I have fame. I've had power and I still have power. I've had money and I've not had money. And I've had all the things that people chase after in the form of attention from my ESPN and sports media career. I used to do all sorts of things like thirst trap instead of post anything about myself or my knowledge or anything. I just be like, well, here's a photo of me and I'm fucking beautiful. So enjoy. And that was it. And that's called glamour magic, in case you were wondering. That is that when you post thirst traps, that is called glamour magic. And when people are posting thirst traps instead of dealing with like things that they're being accused of, glamour magic. When people post thirst traps instead of address happenings in their own private life, that's glamour magic. And when you post a cute selfie and you're feeling yourself and you want to share it with the world, you are essentially doing glamour magic, but it's in a very positive and expressive and abundant way. You know, trying to win over people and distract them with your looks so they don't see your rotten core only works for so long, right? And some people just look rotten. Some people just look miserable and rotten on the surface, and you're like, "Aw, it finally caught up to you." Okay. But like, if you are going around and you are putting on prosthetics and gluing on so much of your face that it's not really yours, or you're taping and construing and like all the things, like plastic surgery is glamour magic as well, if you want to talk about that. So there's all sorts of things about being natural. Like, I refuse to do Botox. I refuse to do anything to my face that is not a natural process. So if it's like a chemical peel or where it helps shed my skin, that is a natural process in my mind. Is it all natural things? No, but guess what? I have inflammatory skin conditions that I am expelling from my body as we speak. And it's like, those are the things that help my skin get better. And I try to be as open, authentic, and all of that as possible about what I am doing. I share my makeup palettes with you guys. I wear a CC cream. It's very nice. It's very light, and I love doing makeup. And I've even had people, oh my gosh, tell me, they're like, you should stop doing your makeup for all your live streams. You should stop looking like this. You should just go bareface and natural. And it's like, okay, cool. I'll do that when I want to. But as of right now, I'm a 10th house sun. I like showing up this way. I like showing up with my even skin tone and that being the case. And this is all my hair. It's all mine. This is my natural hair color, what it would have been if I wanted to bleach the shit out of my hair in my 20s. I would go from platinum blonde to black overnight, then back to platinum blonde like 2 weeks later for no reason. And then I wondered why all my hair like was too fried to do anything. But during my Saturn return, I lost all my hair. My hair was like up to here, I think. And that was in patches. And I had a pretty big medical twist of fate with my Saturn return, where I had actually essentially poisoned myself and didn't know it, and had a bunch of problems coming from that. I did know it, but I didn't really understand what I was doing with my just my entire overall health. And the people I would go and see treatment from might not have understood either. It's kind of been that way my whole life. I have a sixth house Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune, and they're all in Capricorn. And so it's very much about skin and bones and like core vitality things. And so I've very much felt my entire life that, you know, your physical actions will dictate your psychological state and vice versa. And it's something that I have tried to take on my own now, to be like, okay, what are the signs that I am stressed out and need to rest? Here are the things that I've come up with. What are the signs that I need extra help, or I need to go find a specialist? And these are the times, like, I just now um, decided to rehab my knee. Like, I could have gone to an orthopedic surgeon, of course, and been like, okay, it's time for surgery. I'm finally going to do this. I've had meniscus problems my whole life, and yet I never truly fixed it. So now I am doing physical therapy on my own, as well as I'm now walking in the dog parks in the morning, which is so fun. And it's like I get extra strength build up through my knee by taking care of it myself, doing things a slow way and learning that way. I also overcame Bell's palsy this year. April 7th, I was sitting in my room, so part of my face started feeling weird. My mouth went numb. I was smoking a joint and I'm like, damn, this is some strong weed. No, that was not what was happening. I had half my face paralyzed. It lasted from April 7th to about mid-May. I went into full attack mode with my chiropractor and we started doing acupuncture and laser treatments on that side of my face. And within a month and a week or so, I was fully back online and it was like, holy shit. So the human body is powerful. At that time when I developed Bell's palsy, there was a lot of things that I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I had just published a book, then published another book for the lovely Mariah, and then I was like, I'm not doing enough. And it's like, Gracey, are you serious right now? Are you freaking serious? You do so much. So, all that to be said, that is very much where I'm like, okay, I know that astrology is very much medical, it's very much psychological, it's very much anthropological, it's very much anthropology based, it's very much current events, it's very much politics. There's so much about it, and you can use astrology for anything and everything. So when I see Saturn, I'm like, look, I'm Saturn dominant. My Saturn return is when I discovered astrology again through people I don't like introduced me to something I loved. So thank you to those annoying people. But I found so much joy and so much information in astrology. And that's why I'm like, look, I know there's going to be people out there that could probably come along and be an astrologer for the Chiefs just as well as I can. I want to stress this so much, and I don't know if I need to do the camera only scene for this. There are so many ways to be right with astrology. There are so many ways to arrive at the exact same prediction through your specific technique. There is no one that can come along and take your technique from you. There is no one that can come along and duplicate you. They can imitate you, and boy, will they. I don't need to name names, but you know who you are if you just constantly watch what I do and try to imitate it, and then you just like fall flat on your face and you're like, why? That'd be like if I tried to chase after what you're meant to do. If I tried to go be a tight end in the NFL, I would get fucking destroyed. Okay? Because I'm not meant for that. And that's okay. If I wanted to go be the best Hellenistic astrologer, I'd fall flat on my face. I'm not meant for that. If I wanted to go argue with people about technique and like the size of orbs and how we do aspects and which aspect is more like, I would fail at that because I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is the practical and logical use of this ancient art form of astrology to utilize for the everyday person if they choose to get to that point. A lot of people are out here talking about astrology like, why am I not famous? Why am I not reaching all these things? And sometimes it's like, okay, the message is there. The intention is there. You might be speaking in a few octaves of astrology higher than what most people would understand. The delivery can be fine-tuned. You know, some people learn better from analogies. Some people learn better from graphs. Some people learn better from falling flat on their face and having to pick themselves up. It's just what happens, okay? We can't control how other people learn. We can only share our truth and share our knowledge with others. So if you have been looking for a sign to start sharing what you know, start sharing your passions, start discovering your passions, start allowing yourself permission to discover those passions, whatever it is, this is your sign. All right? So get out there and fucking kill it because I know you can. Now, let's get back to the sports astrology. All right, so the Chiefs have their South Node vertex in that 11th house. So once again, I do believe that that South Node for the Chiefs is like, okay, we've been here before, backs up against the wall, pressure, what are we going to do? And they know what they need to do. The 22 degree of Aquarius is right there, loud, conjunct Pallas Athena today in that 12th house. This to me is showing a lot of have they learned? Will they learn? Have they learned? Is it something that they are going to embody down to their core today? Is it going to be a spiritual game of will they, won't they fall flat on their face? Because the Chiefs have been doing a lot of the rug getting pulled out from under them. And that's exactly the degree of where their Saturn is. And I know that I mentioned before that I use this chart because I asked for a sign. Thank you so much, Mariah. You look stunning. I don't know what you look like today, but goddamn, like it's your birthday week. It's your birthday month. It's the Guadalupe portal. It's the 12/12 everything. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that Mariah's here. That just made my day. This is the Glacial Frost palette from Odin's Eye. I mentioned it earlier. I was like, holy shit, thank you, Empress Atlantis, for sharing this with me. She's like, this needs to be on your face. I think she just tagged me in it. And I was like, yes, you're right. Immediately purchased. The beauty of having all of these, I don't even know what I was saying before. Thank you, Mariah. The beauty of having all of these things. Oh yeah, the Chiefs chart. They were talking about how, you know, the Chiefs had the original team, the Dallas Texans. Then they came to Kansas City, and then I used the chart from the day that they were announced, the Chiefs to Kansas City, and I asked for a sign that this was the right chart. I got it over the summer, albeit it was a pretty sad one, but I still was able to have that sign, and I'm like, okay, cool, this confirms it. If their Saturn doesn't confirm it enough, right? This Saturn at 22 degrees Aquarius, having the rug pulled out from under you, very much you have to prepare for the depths of winter within. You also have to really be aware of the energy that Aquarius brings to the table, and that's the aloof. You know, they're not the aliens that you think they are. They are these very, very astute people that have a lot to say. They don't want to be tied down. They want freedom at all times and at all costs. And that's really that degree of the 22 degrees of anything. It's a very radical, kind of caged animal feeling. So with that being said, let's look at the tri-wheel of today's game. And if you guys didn't know, it is Mariah's birthday. So go give her a happy birthday. It was her birthday on the 12th, but I decide birthday month. It's her and Jesus. Like, what more do we need? We've got the Chargers at the Chiefs on the inner wheel. That is going to be today's game. Then the Chargers, the not San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, there we go, are on that middle wheel. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs on the outer wheel. So that is going to be showing you that fun synastry of today's game. Like, I'm looking at this like, oh my God. The first house, we see Chiron for the Chiefs right on the ascendant. We see part of fortune for the Chargers right on the ascendant. And then we see the North Node today for the game right there on the ascendant. There's so much about having that North Node, the obsession, the precision, the dedication, the passion, the destiny point for so much here for the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the Chargers. Both banged up teams. So kicking is going to be big today. I will just say that as loud as possible. The Butker energy is loud. So Harrison Butker, figure it out. Make sure you don't doink it today. Today is not the day to doink. All right. There's my hot take. The air is fucking frigid. So having Aries in that first house, it's going to feel like fire breathing dragon energy at the beginning. Then going into that second house, we see for the Chiefs, Venus and Mercury and the moon. Mercury retrograde is that ruler of the Chiefs' sun in Gemini, as Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So I do think that plays into why they keep dropping the ball, and having Uranus back in Taurus, getting closer to their moon and Mercury does not help. All right. So even though they are separated by about 5 degrees, having Uranus back in Taurus just activates all of that energy for them. So when Uranus was in Gemini, things were a little bit better, although it's still been like, are they gonna handle this? Are they gonna drop this ball? What's gonna happen next? Going into that third house, we see the Chiefs' sun as well as the Chargers' Lilith there. So keeping a cool mindset. The sun is obviously the hottest, biggest ball of fire in the sky. And Lilith is mad as hell most of the time. Scorned, dark, destructive type of energy that can bring, but with destruction comes rebuilding and bringing that back. So with the sun there for the Chiefs, they're going to have to really have a psychic type of mentality and connection today with each other to really win this game. Going into the fourth house, ruled by Mercury, and Mercury being in that ninth house at 3 degrees Sagittarius. That is the game of chess degree. The solution degree to that talks about an owl. So an owl perched high up in a tree. So if you see owl symbols today or symbology of owls for some reason, that's because Mercury is around that owl degree. So there you have it. But yeah, having that in the fourth house, having that in any sort of capacity ruling over the fourth house, I think Mercury is going to be very key. 3 degrees is the degree of Gemini. Gemini ruled degree 3, and then 15, and then 27. There we go. I am killing it with numbers today. Or at least basic simple math that I should know, but hey, whatever. That is Gemini rule degree, so that is going to be very important. The hands and not missing those drop balls for the Chiefs, or not missing those catches. Like, do not drop a goddamn catch, and you will be fine, Chiefs. Today's fifth house is ruled by the moon, and moon is in Libra, so I do have faith that it will be a little bit more balanced with the refs today. The creativity is going to be down to the Libras of today's game. I do think that the Libras hold the creative key. So yeah, I'll go ahead and write them into my list of signs. I can't believe the vertex is squaring the sun today. Like, exactly. That is such a, Virgo to Sagittarius energy. And then Pisces. Who else is going to be big today? You know what? Cancer. Chris Jones and Butker, I need you to have a fucking day, okay? All right, so I am going to rewrite this just because this one is really messy and no reason to have icky, messy writing if you can prevent it. I sound like Martha Stewart, but don't worry, I'm not. I would not survive in jail like Martha Stewart. Let's just put that. I can handle the fucking arts and crafts, but no thank you to the prison time. Okay, so I'm going to keep going a little bit with this, but also want to point out some numbers to watch along the way and then do my live math, because that's always fun to watch me do live math. Yep. Really love that. Okay. I'm going to do my math on another sheet so I don't look like an idiot. I'm also going to say in this, any multiple of 11, I think is going to be strong today because we have the ascendant, descendant, as well as the 5th house and 11th house starting at 11. Very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say 50 is going to be big for today's game. $71. Let's do 87 for the end. Travis Kelce. It has been a ride, to say the least, with Mr. Kelce this year. So those of you that say that it's Taylor Swift's fault, you are the problem, by the way. Just going to put that one on you. Stop blaming women for men being really old tight ends. Okay, so today's game I have 3, 7, 11, 13, 22, 23, 28, 30, 33, 50, 71, and 87. Libra, Cancer, Virgo, Sagittarius, Sagittarius, and Pisces. I'll do my little, oh yeah. Screen grab. Super fun. Yeah, so I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are winning today by, let's say, 3 points. Yeah, Chiefs winning today by 3 points. I do think that there's a lot to be said about Mercury being at that 3 degrees today. 5 minus 2 equal 3 from the moon. And all of these things are somehow going to get the Chiefs to that win. So I want to look at the fun charts because those are the charts that we all enjoy. One more time, if you want to see my predictions. Whatever is easiest. I have all the numbers there. I can put them in the chat. That might be easier. It will be only on YouTube because funny enough, Twitter crashed on me already today. So there's already 2 fucking live streams going on Twitter. And I'm like, great. I really love when I have to go back and clean up my fucking Twitter feed because Elon Musk can't figure out how to do live streaming on X, but wants it to be the only platform, right? Okay. And then signs to watch for Libra, Cancer, Virgo, Sag, Pisces, and Chiefs win by 3. Okay, that's going to be on YouTube. So if you guys are on X watching this, wow, it's a miracle because it barely functions. And those are my predictions. We can get to the fun charts. Let's look at Mr. Justin Herbert. I guess the new thing, thanks to Travis and Taylor, is quarterbacks dating pop stars or big NFL players dating big singers. I guess he's dating somebody that I've never even heard sing, but is really famous. So there's that. And it's not a new thing, okay? I'm fully aware that people have been from the music world and the athletics world crossing over for quite some time. All right, but this guy is Mr. Pisces, right? He's got his Pallas Athena, Jupiter, South Node, and Sun all in Pisces. This is a noon chart, so I do not have it properly timed, or else I would be like, yeah, his MC is there too. Once again, noon chart. Today's game is going to be quite interesting for Justin Herbert. He's got not only his Mercury, but also his Mars and Ceres and Saturn, and all in Aries there in that first house, and his Mars and Mercury being exact. Ceres today's game really needs to be making sure that he took care of his head, or his head is in good health or protected or something. Going around, we don't see much until we get to the 6th house, where he could easily have a Virgo moon or an earlier degree Leo moon, but it is going to be in that 6th house. So today's game, he's going to have to play his heart out and be incredibly physical and not lose his cool. That Lilith and Juno conjunction in Libra very much out loud says he's looking for a muse and a beauty in his life, because Juno and Lilith both being at 0 degrees Libra is quite powerful. And it follows in the 7th house. So maybe we see his girlfriend here at the game today. It's going to be fucking cold, so who knows who wants to come to Kansas City. But hey, you never know. The Chiron for Justin Herbert is going to be in the 8th house, and that is his greatest weakness. It will be conjunct Lilith of today's game, so that'll be interesting just to see. I don't know really if that's something that he's like, if he's fighting with some root chakra issues. We will find out. Having his Pluto loosely conjunct today's Mercury in the 9th house, he is quite a big force of today's game for the Chargers. And then going into that 10th house, empty for Justin. But then we get to the 11th house, we see his Neptune and Venus conjunct Pluto there in the 11th house, maybe once again showing that his love interest shows up loudly, or, you know, is cheering him on loudly in some form today. Or it could just be that he truly loves his team and puts it all on his back for this team in an unexpected way, with Pluto being at that unexpected thunderstorm degree in the Sabian symbols. So that Uranus in the 12th house, as well as his Pallas Athena, Jupiter, and South Node, I do think he kind of stumbles through today a little bit. So I'm not sure if he's really going to be as strong of a competitor as, um, you know, his opponent will be. Speaking of opponents, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. And you guys, if you were watching this in the chat and you have anything to say or any like encouraging words for me, or any observations you want to make, any comments, any questions, you guys can feel free to jump in and share them. I just like to give you guys a minute to look before I start yapping. As most of you know who watch the stream each week, this is the noon chart. I call it the public chart for Patrick, as I do have his birth time, yet have not asked permission to use it publicly. So until then, I use this one. His chart is very much pairing up well in that first house axis. The biggest thing he is fighting today is physical grounding, um, security on that ankle and on that foot. He needs to find his feet underneath him. He needs to take time. His feet are very, very important today. Not only does he have that Saturn retrograde in the first house, he has his sun opposing that, and that will be conjunct the vertex, as well as his Pallas Athena conjunct the South Node exactly today. I do believe this is a burst of forgotten wisdom. This is remembering who the fuck you are. This is looking at, an obstacle, which is the South Node. It's an energetic obstacle. It's not like a thing that you can see. It's a nodal point, and it's around the eclipses and also is a point on the moon. So, all of that being said, there's so much about remembering your destiny when you have Pallas Athena conjunct Vesta. It's like keeping you warm inside is knowing your purpose. And Mahomes greatly knows his purpose. He feels it very strongly, as Mars is conjunct his North Node, and Mars is the sign of athletes, athleticism, and competition. So he gets it. He will not be getting to his destiny until he's about 35, 36 years old. So we have time to watch that come to fruition. The part of Mahomes's South Node in Aries that will be about 5 degrees conjunct Chiron retrograde. It's all about mental fuck ups. It's about mental missteps. It's about mental misfirings. It's about mental battles that us as the general public do not know about. Okay, so there are times where things can be rough for these guys and we don't know it. They don't even know it. The stars know it, but that's about it, and that's not always the easiest, informer. Most of the time you have to have a translator, right? So seeing that his South Node is in that second house, he and his mindset are going to be controlling the pace of the game quite a bit, or having some navigational pull at least. Going into the third house that is empty for Mahomes, and then he has his fourth house, or the game's fourth house, his moon in that fourth house, as well as his Lilith retrograde. And that will be important just for controlling anger, controlling mental outbursts, controlling vocalization, communication outbursts, and then the emotional behind the scenes closed doors. What can he transmute and turn into his fire for today? Going into the fifth house, it is empty for Mahomes. This is a noon chart. That is not his vertex. Going into the sixth house, that is not his MC or part of fortune. So that's why I don't think today is going to be rough on him physically. He just needs to make sure he finds his feet, and he will be running quite a bit today. The seventh house, pile up, starting with Pallas Athena, then going to Vesta, the Sun, Chiron, Venus, Ceres, and Mercury, all in the seventh house. This game is so deeply personal. The same game is so on his mind. He knows he is the make or break part of today's game, and he knows what it takes to get there. So that is half of the battle, right? Looking at the later placements like his Mercury and Venus and Chiron conjunction in Libra that will be impacted by today's moon in Libra. And then the moon will be conjunct his north node throughout the game, which I think gives a little bit more of a push for Mr. Mahomes to step up and do something. Then we see his Mars in the 8th house of deep-seated anger, as well as the 8th house of Vegas odds. I would say that he is going to be good for a touchdown today. If you are into betting, that's cool. If not, that's cool too. I did forget to add Mr. Kareem Hunt to the equation of numbers to watch today, but he is definitely somebody with Sagittarius placements that will be popping off as well. Having Mahomes' Pluto in the 9th house as well as his Jupiter, I do think that helps shut down the away team and brings a little bit more expansion and transformation to the Chiefs with that energy. His Juno is conjunct the MC of today's game, and it's also conjunct the sun exactly. 22 degrees Sagittarius, global fame. It is no surprise that Senor Mahomes has this placement. I don't know why I felt like calling him Senor, but there we go. But the 22 degree of Sagittarius is a global fame or global recognition, as well as an affinity for global energy. Him having Juno in Sagittarius at that 20 degree, I would think that he'd be marrying a foreigner, but he ended up marrying a woman that he knows from his hometown. So that's kind of funny, but also not really that surprising when you see his chart. There's something about having a Juno return, which is what he's going through now. Maybe he's having like an anniversary coming up. I don't know shit about these guys. Like, I promise you, I am not the person that's scouring their Instagrams looking for what they're doing all week. I don't care. I have so much going on. If that was my life, I'd probably freak out if that's what I spent my free time doing. Watching other people just stresses me out. I like barely follow people on socials because I don't like keeping track of that many people. Like, why would I want to keep track of more people? No, thank you. That's just my opinion. Unfollow everyone is my opinion, including me. If you need a break from me, go for it. I am very visible. I'm all everywhere all the time. I get it sometimes. I don't judge. There's also his 22 degree Neptune in Capricorn kicking into effect quite loudly today, and having Vesta in the part of fortune there conjunct loosely those Capricorn placements for Mahomes. I do think that helps kick in his take it all on his back and handle it himself energy. No surprise to anyone there. And then his 12th house the 12th house of today's game is empty for Mahomes. So that's kind of nice to see. It's like, okay, cool. Travis Kelce's part of fortune, or vertex, I think it says vertex, is in the 12th house. So we'll see that. We can just pull it up right now, in fact, if you'd like. His vertex is conjunct today's rising. You can tell on days I didn't do anything with my hair because I keep playing with it. I'm like, why does it look like this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I let it air dry. I brushed it, and then I'm like, you will dry this way. Going back to Kelsey's chart. All right. We have his Pallas Athena retrograde conjunct Ceres today, which I'm not sure how that will show up, but I hope his higher wisdom and higher self is glowing accordingly. Then we have in the 2nd house, empty for the game, and Mr. Kelsey. Didn't call him Senor Kelsey, so there's that. 3rd house, empty for Kelsey. Uranus retrograde for the game. And then 4th house, we have his MC, Ceres, and Jupiter. So I do think that means he shows out a little bit behind closed doors at home and his home turf. He will have to be super careful with the refs and being too creative with plays today. Being too creative, they'll punish you for that too. There's nothing that corporate or authoritarian type people will not punish you for. I'm like finally coming to terms with the fact that as an adult, there's like no one else coming along to get me in trouble. I am my own authority. And it's like, oh, this is what being an Aries sun is all about. I got it now. So gotta love it. that Aries ruled, or Mars ruled, second house for today's game. Nothing there for Trav. Nothing for Trav for the third house. Fourth house packed a little bit. Fifth house showing some signs of life, which are positive with the part of fortune for Travis conjunct Jupiter, as it has been for quite some time, even though Jupiter is retrograde. I do think that could be a little bit why um, his best life has not been happening through this. His moon being ruled by Jupiter and Jupiter having been retrograde for a minute has not helped anything. Travis's south node being the sixth house, he feels the heart of this, and he feels like he is part of the heart of this game, and he will physically be showing up as such. He has to be careful to be more in his body, right? He might have gotten a little spiritual, a little woo woo ever since falling in love, and that's okay. That's what you're supposed to do when you're in love. Get all the woo woo that you can, not like Sims woo woo, but like get all the like spiritualness of it all out there. And yeah, maybe that's also the Sims woo woo. Whatever. You're doing both. It can't hurt. The amount of physicality of today's game for Travis is going to be quite visible, since the vertex of today's game is right there, conjunct his ascendant and Mercury, which rules his chart. So I do think he has a much better game that he has been having. If that makes sense, great. If not, tune in next time when I still don't explain myself. The Sun and Mars conjunction in the seventh house of today's game, having a little bit of boost from that moon. That's super exciting to see. Having Juno right there, about 11 degrees from the today's game moon, is going to feel a little bit more like he is committed, focused, and on point this game. His Lilith and Pluto conjunction in the eighth house, and his Venus in the eighth house, I do think he will be a little bit of a force and maybe making up for the last game by scoring a touchdown as well. So I've got Mahomes and Kelsey both to score a touchdown. Who knows? We'll see. Right? We'll see. I'll be sure to remind you after the game. Don't worry. I will always post my wins or losses, but I always have something from the games, no matter what, to be like, yeah, I called that. So that's kind of cool. I've yet to be like, wow, I didn't know anything of this and I was wrong about it all. Sometimes it's just the score. And while that does seem to be quite a bit of the whole point of sports predictions, it's also knowing the rhythm of the games, being able to read a chart, and learning how to do this in my sleep. And that's what I want to be able to do when I take my talents to other teams. Going to the ninth house, we see Mercury and Venus there for today's game, and that those are both on either side of his moon. So I think that does, like I said, give him a boost. He's going to be a little bit more of a shining star, maybe terrorize the away team a little bit. Who knows? Having his Uranus, Saturn, Vesta, and Neptune all in the 10th house, that's going to be a lot of lessons, visible lessons, and visible swift changes. Ha ha ha, didn't mean to do that. Sudden changes, that 29 degrees Sagittarius Mars conjunct his Uranus, that could mean a change of his insecurity and he feels a lot stronger today. Who knows? Having Mars going to Capricorn is only going to strengthen his Capricorn stellium. So having the part of fortune and Vesta conjunct his Vesta, he's going through his Vesta return, as well as his Neptune and Saturn, is super cool to see. Then going into the 12th house, he does have his North Node and Vertex there. So yeah, that'll be definitely an interesting one to see how that plays out for him. But I think it's definitely a physical game. Every time I mention Noah Gray is going to have a game, he ends up having a game where you shouldn't have picked him to do anything, and he drops balls, he doesn't make first downs, and then he gets one when it doesn't matter. What is that? What is that? I think it's all of his retrograde Sagittarius placements. Retrograde Pluto, Juno, and Chiron, all there in Sagittarius. The Sagittarius season just hasn't been fun for him, so that's oversight on my part, as well as his Mercury and Jupiter being rocked a little bit by Chiron retrograde there. So don't think that I'm not aware of the things that I say, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that wasn't quite accurate. Today's game, he does have Uranus and South Node conjunction in the 12th house, conjunct Pallas Athena, so maybe thank the heavens, literally, Pallas Athena might be coming in to save his ass. We'll see. I've just been like, damn it. Every time I say he's going to have a game, he has a game, but it's not the reason you think. One man that will be having a game today is Mr. Rashid Rice. If you are not aware, Rashid Rice is one of the charts that I do have an exact birth time for, so all of this is incredibly accurate. He does need to be careful with his head today. His Venus in Aries is trine his moon exactly, as well as trine the MC exactly, where his moon is exact, the MC. So yes, he will be very visibly on display today. Hopefully it is not for any sort of injury where his emotions are on display and everyone is praying for him or hoping that he is okay. That can be what that signifies with Venus trine exactly the MC and the moon and that Aries Venus being so close to Chiron retrograde and his part of fortune. So we'll just say a quick prayer. Rashid Rice will be protected and granted wonderful health for today's game. There we go. And really, that's every player. Every player on this team, please stay protected and be granted perfect health for today's game. Like, we don't want to see that shit. I might have Mars. This is how I actually knew somebody was bad at what they were doing. I had a reading from someone one time, and they were human design, and they're like, oh, well, you have Mars on your descendant. You love blood. Bro, I'm a Cancer rising. I do not love seeing blood. It actually grosses me out. Do I do it and like just deal with it? Absolutely. But I feel like a wartime medic. And when I did a quantum healing hypnosis session in 2021, I found out that I was my grandfather in a past life. And I'm like, damn, that's really cool. But he was a war medic in World War II. And he was over in Southeast Asia and doing all sorts of medical whatever he could as a doctor in the army. So I definitely feel like I've been there, done that, seen that. And she's like, oh, blood doesn't bother you. You're into blood. And I'm like, no, I am not. So if you have Mars on the descendant and people tell you that you're supposed to be weird and wanting to cut things open, that's not weird. That's a very specific trait that I am very grateful that surgeons have. I do not have it, therefore I'm not a surgeon. But I feel like in a past life, all I did was blood and guts and no thanks. And so, yeah, not so much. I just knew this person was full of shit when I was like, she's like, you would love blood. You don't mind that at all. I'm like, I can't watch Grey's Anatomy because it grosses me out. Like, that is the longest running show. It has all the things I would love: drama, sexual tension, and just chaos happening, right? You would think my sixth house stellium would love that shit. Yet I watched that and I'm like, oh my God, I can't look at 90% of this. And even when I watched Outlander, I couldn't watch the medical parts because I'm like, this is too gross and real looking. No thanks. Back to Rishi Rice and not my terrible experience with wannabe gurus. We have pace of game determined by this man as well. So once again, say prayers of protection for all people on the field, as well as specifically Rishi Rice today. We do need his physicality, his power degree. Taurus sun in that second house is very much alive and well. That 22-degree Sagittarius or Taurus Mars in conjunct Sagittarius, it's definitely a factor. In that 22-degree Mars trine the 22-degree vertex and Virgo, definitely a factor as well. So this is going to be a very physical game for Rishi Rice, and we will see how that all works out. The tri-wheel of today's game, if you are not familiar, has all of my predictions right here. Yay, I can totally do this. I'm Vanna White. All my predictions are right here. You can see that I have said 3, 7, 11, 13, 22, 23, 28, 30, 33, 50, 71, and 87 will be having a day today. And having a game, having a day, whatever it is that you want to say. The signs to watch are Libra, Cancer, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Chiefs win by 3. So now that I have that in my YouTube comments, I don't have to carry around this Post-it note. Like halfway through the games, my man will be like, oh, are you looking for your Post-it note? I'm like, yes. How did you know? I'm like, what just happened? What number was that? And I'm like trying too hard to keep track of it. Gotta love it. Today's game is going to be a blast. It's going to be a close one. I said the Chiefs are winning by 3. This is just another game of heart over brain. Which one is going to win? Are you going to be physically exhausted? Or are you going to rise to the occasion? The Chiefs have a lot of placements in the 6th house, and so do the not San Diego Chargers. Okay, so this is going to be a matchup. The Chargers do have that Mars and Venus conjunction, although Venus is retrograde in that conjunction, and the Chiefs have their Juno there on the South Node as well. So there's a lot of action with that South Node. It's transcendent. Yeah, there we go. It's transgressing. No, it's transcendent, and it's going to permeate anything that you have mutable that's around those degrees of the South Node. So for the Chiefs, that is opposite the Chiron North Node conjunction, obviously. So we've got that powerful thing happening. Today's game is going to be brought to you by Harrison Butker and his kicks. I think that this will be kind of like a checkmate situation, as the game's Mercury is in that 9th house at the chess degree, the 2 men playing chess degree. And I can show you guys that. It's actually one of my favorite degrees, and it's my vertex. So, I love talking about myself. 2 men playing chess. And then the solution, or the truth degree, is a little child learning to walk with the encouragement of parents. And then the solution degree is an old owl perched high up in a tree. So owl symbolism will be loud today as well. And then we also have that men traveling a narrow path seeking illumination degree of today's rising. And that sword used in many battles is now in a museum. That's very much the will they hang it up and let this team roll over on them as far as the Chiefs go? And then for the Chargers, will they have to hang up their early season rush that they had? Will they have to succumb to the losing side of life? Who knows? So today will definitely be an interesting one. Let's talk some astrology. If you guys don't know already, I have this amazing Working with the Sabian Symbols book available on my website for free. It is all about the Sabian symbols, how they were started, how they were founded. At an unknown date 100 years ago, Elsie Wheeler gave the best Sabian symbol interpretations of all time. Many have come along and been like, I can do better. And it's like, who are you? She was the best. She had a 29-degree Pisces moon. She was more psychic than any of us could ever imagine. What are you talking about? So we are at a pretty powerful time. We are at the last lunation of the year, of the calendar year. And this lunation happens to be at 28 degrees Sagittarius. So if you have been victimized personally by these last degrees of Mars and Sagittarius, we're revisiting them on the 19th. So the 19th, we have a new moon in Sagittarius, and that's at the later degrees of Sagittarius, known as the insecure degrees of Sagittarius. The 28 degrees Sagittarius is represented in the Sabian symbols by a splendidly built bridge, a heritage of unknown ages, still spans the beautiful and wildly primitive stream. The truth degree of this new moon is a fat boy mowing the lawn. And then the solution degree to this new moon, is the Pope blessing the faithful. And I wrote in our book, The Astrology of 2025. If you guys don't have this book, it is available through Barnes & Noble, as well as you can click the link in my bio on either X, Instagram, or YouTube, and it will take you there. I wrote that the karma of this new moon is extending the bridge between the Jupiter-ruled season of Sagittarius and the cold yet persistent Saturn-ruled season of Capricorn. We see here the marvels of long ago met with functionality of current use. What marvelous relics do you carry with you from your own lineage? What can you let go? The truth to this degree is keeping up with appearances at a cost. Where have you been too afraid to let go? The blessings you receive from cutting dead weight from your life while still hanging on to the love and the magic roll in like storm clouds. Having faith in yourself will always be rewarded if you give yourself the chance. I don't know if you need to get rid of some people. There's a QR code for cord cutting ritual that I can link to as well in the YouTube comment section, the YouTubes. It's all about this letting go of what no longer serves you, and the last degrees of Sagittarius being all about this bridge between both worlds, and then having the fat boy mowing the lawn. It's like, what do you just push through for no reason blindly? What do you just say, you know what? I'm at a deficit, so I need to work harder here. When you're at a deficit, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, you do not need to work harder. In fact, you need to rest. And your relationship with rest is going to be what gets you through the winter solstice and the last part of winter. We are currently in the fall, right? We are still in the fall. On the 21st at 9:03 a.m. Central Time, we will be in winter solstice. The 20th is the night that we celebrate before the solstice. The Yule days starts on the 20th, and then it goes all the way through the new year. And the first day, you're like writing letters to women or motherly energy from the past or present that has gotten you through to this very moment. And there's a whole like list of rituals. You can look it up too. I thought I had the book here that like had all that, but I don't. But these are things around the Yule that you can celebrate. And, you know, winter solstice is when the sun slows down in the sky to where it appears dead for 3 days. And then on that last day, the 25th, the sun rises back up in the sky and starts its forward motion towards spring once more. And it gets this extra energy around the 25th. This might sound like a certain story that you may have heard over and over again, the story of Christmas. The three wise men were the three stars in Orion's belt. We can get to that another time. But they do align. It all aligns. And I don't want to be the one to tell people that their sacred holiday is really a pagan, stolen tradition topped with capitalism and consumerism, and that the sun that they truly worship that's born on the 25th is actually the solar sun. And how many religions have had a solar deity over the millennia of time and the eons and eons of time that we have seen all these organized religions all claiming to have this virgin born solar god. It's just funny to me. And it's funny that people like don't put two and two together. And I'm like, oh, so I don't want to be the one to break it to you, but in my magazine, in the Northern magazine, we'll be talking about the astrological context behind the winter solstice, as well as Christmas, as well as Easter, as well as all of the zodiac. So that's one article that I'm really looking forward to including, as well as some really powerful articles and interviews from people that I think are truly fascinating. So I choose to look at this new moon starting a new path and new direction for my magazine, as this one will be in my fifth house. And I actually look forward to, my sixth house, and embodying that type of energy that I truly love seeing. That larger than life, higher mentality. It's like when somebody walks around with higher knowledge and purpose, it just seeps out of them, right? And that's what I want my magazine to be like. I want people to use it as a vision board material. When Mariah told me that she cut up part of the magazine to use for a vision board, I was like, I am so honored, because that is exactly what I want my magazines to be, is like a fever dream of visuals and words and ways that you can connect deeper with nature, deeper with your purpose, and deeper with your own personal wisdom. We all have it. And whether you honor it or not is 100% up to you. So with this new moon, we could also have news about the Pope. This is very much a Pope new moon. So I don't know what the Pope is up to. I think I have the Vatican blocked on Twitter because they just got so annoying that I didn't want to like see it anymore. Chances are if I have you blocked on Twitter, it's because you have popped up so much that it has annoyed me to where I don't want to see it anymore. It has not, or you've been incredibly disrespectful in some regard towards me or people I love, and that's where I'm like, you know what, fuck you. And that's what I choose to do with my energy. I'm like, I'm gonna sit in a castle with the walls up as high as I need them. The people that are allowed to come in are truly vetted, truly wonderful, and I vouch for these people. And that's what the energy of with you. If you see somebody working alongside me and we continue working together, that is because they are a great person, and I truly feel grateful for them. I feel recharged by them. I feel like when I leave a conversation that I have something to look forward to or a new perspective to shift an old mentality, and those are my favorite type of people. So if you have big ideas, you have big brains, and you want to talk about all things cosmic and I don't know, work towards a better future together, like we're all here as human beings. We are all one race, and that is the human race. So to obstruct each other is unnatural. To go against each other is unnatural. Thank you, Marcus Aurelius, for your wise, wise words that you never intended anyone to see with your meditations journal. But we published it anyway, and I hope you aren't too mad because that would mean that we all have cursed books in our house of a very angry Marcus Aurelius ghost. I think with most things, he would just succumb to the fact that, yeah, I was pretty fucking awesome. I understand why people want to say things centuries and millennia after I die. It's fine. With all of that being said, I am so grateful that I get to continue to spread my esoteric knowledge as well as my cosmic insight with you all each week after week, sharing things about the new moon, sharing things about where we are in life, the things that I've learned through planetary transits, as well as the things that I've observed through these sports astrology streams. And I'm so grateful that I get to do these with you each and every week. I will not be back for Christmas, so I will be chilling with my family. On that day, I will do another written prediction kind of thing. But next week will be winter solstice, and we have a magazine to share with you all. So Mariah, my amazing editor and business partner with Ninth House Publishing, will be joining us for the winter solstice episode of my sports astrology stream. I will be talking about the sports astrology side of it, and I might even have Mariah pull some cards to see what team is going to be winning in the tarot outcome, as she is the witchiest of witchy and will fit right in with that vibe. Also, she's a K-State witch, so she's got her own sports team to focus on, and we can talk more about that one-on-one as well through that episode. So next week, I will be short and sweet with my sports predictions, as I will be focusing on my magazine launch with yours truly on the cover, and I'm very excited to share that as well as just share all the great things that we have in the magazine. So once again, my name is Gracey with Northern Astrology. My name tag's been there the whole time, so if you forgot, I will remind you. I have no problem talking about myself because that is the one thing I'm an expert in, is me. And I can share what I've learned, what I've experienced, and what I've observed from the cosmos direct to you all. And I look forward to doing that each and every week. So thank you for stopping by once again. I hope this has been informative. I hope you have an amazing new moon coming up. And I hope the Chiefs win by 1 billion. Have a great Sunday, you guys.